John Brash, thank you for joining us for question and answers.
Very welcome.
So, what are the national monetary priorities you believe need to be in place to allow businesses to thrive in New Zealand?
I could say, how long have we got? I think the most important single thing for improving the prospects of business in New Zealand, particularly those in regions like Hawke's Bay, is to get a more consistently lower exchange rate. The New Zealand exchange rate has been almost certainly too high for quite a long time. It's not just that it fluctuates, and it does that too, but quite apart from the fluctuations, the level of the exchange rate has almost certainly been too high. Now, it's better now than it was a couple of years back. It was way up against the US dollar, 88, 89 cents to the US dollar. Now down around 72, 73. That's obviously better from an exporter's point of view. But the level has been on balance a bit too high for quite a long time. And the evidence for that is partly in the ongoing current account balance of payments deficit. We've been spending more overseas each year than we've been earning overseas each year. And the last time we had a surplus in the balance of payments was 1974. That's a long time ago. That in itself, to me, establishes that there's a tendency for the New Zealand dollar to be too high. Now, if the New Zealand dollar were lower, this would be particularly useful for regional New Zealand, which tends to be export-oriented, horticulture, viticulture, agriculture, etc. And I think that would help substantially. I guess the second point I would make is that at the moment our corporate tax rate is, funnily enough, now among the highest in the developed world, particularly now with the United States going down from a quite ridiculous 36 to 21%, I think. We're at 28. And by international standards, that's now a fairly high level of tax. I think there'll be benefit in getting both a lower exchange rate and a lower tax rate. Getting a lower exchange rate, people say, oh, Brash can say that when he was governor of the Reserve Bank, the exchange rate was too high and he was responsible for that. No. You can certainly influence the exchange rate by cutting interest rates in the short term. You can, in other words, drop the nominal exchange rate, but what's relevant to exporters is not the nominal exchange rate, but the real exchange rate. And getting the real exchange rate down is not something you can affect with tinkering with interest rates. That's a result of much more fundamental things. And in my view, one of the quickest ways of getting the real exchange rate down would be to run a tighter fiscal policy. So the government would be running tighter, more consistent budget surpluses that would force the Reserve Bank to have lower interest rates in order to keep the inflation target on track. That in turn would lead to a tendency for the New Zealand dollar to be lower.
Over the years, have you changed your opinion on what you think is required for some things you just mentioned there? I mean, over the years, have you changed your opinion of what's needed for business to thrive?
Not for quite a while. I guess I've changed from where I was much younger, but over the last few decades, no. I think the exchange rate is crucial, the tax rate is crucial. I guess the other thing which is important, particularly for small businesses, is the imposition placed on small businesses by government regulation. I've never run a small business, so I don't know the difficulties which they face, but anecdotally, small businesses find the red tape, the bureaucracy, the rules, the regulations quite a pain. Now, having said that, successive governments have tried from time to time to help that situation. I was, for example, chairman of the committee which designed New Zealand's GST way back in 1985. The Minister of Finance at that time, Roger Douglas, was absolutely committed to reducing the compliance costs imposed on small businesses by the GST. He'd heard horror stories from the UK about the imposition, that the compliance costs involved in having a value-added tax which was subject to many exemptions, and that increases the compliance costs very substantially. His instruction to the committee that I chaired was design the GST which minimises the compliance costs for small business. And of course, it takes no genius at all to work out that you do that by having one rate, no exceptions. And that's of course what we largely have in New Zealand.
What's the main thing that you've actually introduced to help businesses at the moment?
Well, as I say, I would try and deal with all those issues. I would find ways of reducing compliance costs, getting the exchange rate down for the companies which are focused on the export market or competing with imports, and I would get the corporate tax rate down. But let me just say on the compliance cost issue. I mean, that's made up of a whole range of different issues. Employment law, health and safety rules, building consents and so on. I mean, some of the things which should be able to be done very, very quickly take an inordinate amount of time. My son was involved in trying to build a house for him and his wife in Auckland some years ago. They were building a house consistent with the district plan. There was no departure from the district plan required, but it took months and months and months to get approval to build a simple two-story house. Now, it should have been a rubber stamping exercise, and that kind of frustrating bureaucracy, I think, is very tough for small businesses to handle. Big businesses can find ways around it or have staff dedicated to fixing it, but small businesses find it much tougher.
Do you think free market economics can still work under a Labour-led government? Do you think it can still be successful? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the alternative is more government involvement, and I think the problem right now is we've already got too much government involvement. I mean, well, Auckland anecdotes are probably not terribly helpful for Hawke's Bay, but I see no reason why, well, David Longy, who was former Prime Minister in a Labour government, of course, once said, mankind has never found a better way of producing goods and services than the market. And he's right. And as China itself proves, I mean, most of the prosperous parts of the Chinese economy are driven by the market, not by government direction. So I'm quite convinced that the market is the most efficient way of producing goods and services. It may not produce the social outcomes that we want, in which case, of course, we do have policies to redistribute income towards the people who've in some way been disadvantaged or lost out in that free market environment.
You've recently just taken a bit of directorship with the Stewart Group in Hastings. Personally, what do you want to achieve through that position?
Well, let me say that I'm not a director of the Stewart Financial Group. I've been asked to join the advisory board, and that's a rather different responsibility. And I think you'd have to ask them why they invited me to doing that. But I'm hoping that my background and experience can help the group.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks very much, Tom.
Thank you. Very good.